Okay.
I'm so excited.
We're going to paint. I know, this is inspiring. I can't remember when I've done my last painting because I did so many of them, and then the summer and rolling into different things and this and that. So
how do we start?
This is the first time that I've painted in a long time. Okay, so I prepped all our paints because the painting time is sort of, the paint mixing time is the longest, but we are going to stir our paints. So we can just put our sticks in those. We are going to do a flip cup today. So the premise is you can add your paint to the pot or the cup in any way you like. You can pour it slowly down the side, and then that will it'll layer on each other. Okay. Or you can just go like mix, mix, mix. And you don't have to pour them in like any rhyme or reason. You can go blue, green, white, blue, light blue.
And they will layer on top of each other?
Yeah, they should, because what I've done is I did a consistency check. So sort of the key thing about the painting is you don't want thin paint is used for a different application. Thick paint is used if you really want if you were doing a ring pour, like if we were putting in our paints and we were going like this.
Oh, okay.
And then the thicker the paint, the more it's going to look like what you're laying down. This is sort of in between the paint consistency of a very thin pour and a thicker paint, so that when we drop it down, it should sort of stick to what it's not just going to roll right off it's not going to just like pour right off your mat. So I did a little drip test to start with. This was my first one, so you could see the white and the blue were a little bit runnier. Basically, I just want everything to sort of end up being the same consistency or thickness. You don't want thin paint and a thicker paint doing this project, because it won't work for you.
It'll mix weird.
Yeah, and like your thin paint will roll off the canvas, whereas your thicker paint will stay. So yeah, sort of one of the key takeaways that I learned from the whole process is having your paints being all the same consistency of whatever type of, painting you're doing. That's the key, is to have consistency in your paints. So we're going to start with filling our cups, but we want to give our paints a little stir, because I prepped them this morning just to make sure that they're well mixed, and there's lots of different things you can do. A big thing that I tell my students, whatever you pour in the bottom first,
it's going to be the last.
It's going to be the last one out.
That's what I was just mentally, I'm like, where do I want to start?
So if you don't, but like, I mean, you could go like this and pour half and half in. Like, there's no, you can circle pour in, or you could very delicately pour them all like down the side and stack them up.
That's so cool.
In the end, I know, I love it because there's no rules.
Mm-hmm. And some white and light blue.
Yeah. And ours are going to look nothing alike.
Nope.
Except for the same colors.
Right. That's kind of
where the beauty of it. That's just where it's very individual too, right? Like, it's not just like, you could go to a course and everyone paints a bird, and it's always going to be individual. Yes. It's always going to be different.
And that's kind of what that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like, this is a art form that is you can't control it.
There is no control.
You have to, like, if you're a person who enjoys control,
this is not for you. But if you're a person who enjoys control and you want to step outside the box, try fluid art.
Yeah, because like even right now, I'm like, naturally my brain's like, hey, it's got to go in certain layers, and I'm like, just throw it in and see what happens.
Throw it in the pot, see what happens. Okay. So yeah, I offer gloves. Some people like gloves, some people don't. They just want to go with it.
Right.
I'm usually walking across the carpet to the bathroom to clean my hands, so I'm like, I better use gloves, because I have had paint on the carpet before. That's where paint. That's the one downfall to paint. Yeah. So we are going to I've given us lots of extra paint, so we're going to take our, actually, how are we going to do this? We're going to go like this and just lay it on top. Sorry.
Like that?
Yeah. And then we're going to put our hand on top, and then we're just going to go flip. And then we're going to put it down. Just let it sit for a second. You can, there's so many ways you can do it. You can pick it straight up. You can pick it up and kind of swirl it. You can do whatever. But after we pick up our cup, we're just going to let it sit there for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so. And then you can take your cup and, again, add it to the sides. Perfect. Okay, so now the other trick we want to do is we don't just want to dump our paint off right away.
Okay.
So we want to be sort of cognizant of where we're going to roll it, and we just want to keep it on the canvas for as long as we can.
Okay. Balancing act.
And of course, sometimes all the things you like sometimes do roll off, sadly. So now the only other thing you sort of want to do is just make sure that like you don't have a big puddle in the middle of your paint, like,
Okay. So
and
start
have it
moving
too
around
thick.
a little more now.
Yep.
And then you can really start to see the designs come through.
Yeah, so you got a lot more pastels in yours. It's just sort of the way you poured it.
Yeah.
Maybe, or put it in there.
So cool.
So yeah.
Now I see it, and then like now I understand how like my favorite graffiti artists, they would let that dry and then they would do their piece on top of it.
Ah.
And then
yeah, I mean, you could totally layer. There's so many different things that you could do with it that you could layer.
It'd be so hard to do a massive piece though.
My big
Now that I'm
I
thinking
ran out
about
of
that
paint.
one that you had.
I ran out of paint. Like I didn't calculate enough paint in my head, or you can go online, there's a paint calculator, but yeah, I guess I thought I mixed enough paint, but I didn't for it. But I mean, there's so many, obviously. Here, I'll just give you a quick, like, you know, that was a flip cup.
See, and I love that it's got the like the glitter in
gold.
there.
Yeah,
gold.
that was just just gold. I
That's
just put
so
gold in.
cool.
This one was a bottle bottom pour that I taught, and you just take the bottom of a pop bottle, and I cut them out for the class, and then we poured our paint on the pop bottle, and then it just sort of flowed over the pop bottle.
Okay.
And then we pulled that off and, you know, let it kind of go to the center, and then we did our tilting. I taught people how to do a feather.
Whoa.
So we did a feather painting class, so that was really fun. And that's with like
pour too? Or is that dragging?
No, you're dragging. I cut lots of little paper towels, and you lay 4 or 5 colors for your quill, the quill, and then you pull them out.
That's so cool.
So you lay down a base of white or whatever your background color wants to be, and then we did that.
So crazy. Like there's no
That's why
I'm so thankful that I learned and understood and like became aware of the beauty behind abstract art versus contemporary art, because abstract is like it always just seemed like colors to me, but like the older I got and like Fiona helping me understand it because of her perspective, I almost enjoy abstract more than I do regular contemporary artwork now, like landscapes and portraits, because it's like it takes a skill set to do so, but at the same time it's like it's tracing versus creating from the mind. And that's how I feel. It's like you can't replicate this ever.
No.
I'm not going to be able to.
No, I mean, the 2 on the wall there are all the same colors. They're just, that's how they turned out.
And they work together well. They are a piece, but they're not. And that's what's like, to me, is kind of mind-boggling, because you could do a whole series of paintings. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's like, it becomes difficult, because like, how do you, like you're saying earlier, how do you get that out there for people to see? Because once they see it, they're going to want it, right? I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I put my stuff on Marketplace, but it's getting yourself out there. You know, I mean, and you know, like you said, like, you know, artists are introverts, you know, we might be more, I'm happier staying in this little room.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's another skill set that, you know, it's giving me is getting out. And like, I never thought I'd teach a class in my life, but here I am going, if I loved it, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write my own class. I'm going to get it out there and, you know, buy everything that I need to do it. So, I mean, I buy the reusable trays and, you know, everything. And you even, you know, I buy all the pizza boxes so that, you know, you don't have to worry about bringing a thing. You just come and enjoy the class and take your art home.
And that's smart, right? And I think that's why we need more go-getters, because there's a lot of people who are willing to go to things if it's there for them, but not a lot of people willing to create something for people to go to.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the community-based, our communities have kind of like, we used to know our neighbors and have like block parties, and we don't do that anymore. And I think that's just getting people that connection again is definitely out of the pandemic. Is like you've seen everybody became more introverted. And it's like, how do you get it out? Yeah, get back out, even for shows and stuff. Most people don't want to go to concerts anymore because of the same aspect. So I can imagine it's difficult to get people to want to come out to do art. But once they do, they're kind of locked in.
Yeah, you get hooked.
Like, I could see this being addicting. I'd be in there all day doing different pieces. All day.
I know, and I'm only limited to so much space in here.
Right, and that's the thing.
How big I can do a piece, or how big I can, you know, like I've got someone that wants me to do a table, and I'm like, I would love to paint your table, but I don't know where I can paint your table.
Right.
Like that's, you know.
Just need to find somewhere who's like a warehouse with a small space in the corner.
Right.
For big pours and stuff like that.
Can you let me come and paint, please? Yeah. I don't have to do it on my carpet.
Yeah, like the most difficult thing for me with painting is I'm not patient.
Right.
I'm not a patient person. So when it comes to like waiting for paint to dry, I go insane. So I'm like always like I mess up. That's the thing. You have to, and for whatever reason, little bugs are like attracted to this. So usually I try to put like a little cover over it, just like, or my paintings or even the resin, just so like nothing lands in it. Because the last thing you want to be doing is pulling out little bugs or something. You just can't. They just get stuck in there. But yeah, you make it, put it to the side, let it dry for a couple days, and then enjoy it on your wall or wherever. That's so cool.
Yeah, lots of fun.
If you had any advice that you would give an aspiring artist who would be wanting to get into it but has no idea where to start, what would that be?
Watch out for my classes. No. Sign up for my classes. Where would you start? Yeah, start by just jumping in. Find a class. If you can't find a class, there's paint pouring sets. You can buy, you can go to Michael's and you can buy pre-made paint pouring sets that come with all the colors. And, you could start by doing that. And if you like that, then you could start by buying more paints and trying it. And then, just, spending your, late night evenings in bed doom scrolling and watching YouTube videos on how-tos. There's lots of great artists out there that do so many different things. I watch Molly from Molly's Artistry. I think I mentioned Okasobi. She does some great stuff, like two completely different artists doing fluid art. So it really gives you an idea as to all the potential and, all the ideas out there. And then there's another guy, and sorry, I can't remember his name, but there's lots of great artists out there that do really neat things. And that's, if I'm feeling I want to paint, but I'm kind of feeling uninspired with colors and I don't know what to choose, I'll go to the internet and I'll start, just perusing Pinterest for colors. I'll choose, watch YouTube for colors and, check out my favorite artists, see what they're doing, or, what type of fluid art they're doing. So, that gives me my inspo.
That's funny. Do you ever pull inspiration from nature? Like, do you ever try to think of, like, I want to make this look like a specific wave style? Or does it just come out that way naturally? Because it's definitely hard. like, when you're physically doing it, so you can see where you want it to go, but to control it is a kind of a... To control it's,
a trick and a whole different issue. I do my very first piece. It's hanging in the bathroom. It was all earthy colors. And it's probably like, it's still my favorite piece, like my first one that I did. And
earth tones are really nice.
It's, you know, I do like, I look at my, zinnias. I don't know if you noticed all the flowers in my front garden. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I've taken a picture of those and like the pinks and the orange. And I'm like, what's going on in nature that, you know, their color combinations that I can pull out and try to replicate and try that. Like,
and that's what I was saying. Like the art that I saw online alone that's why I was saying it has like an Okanagan vibe. Like the color palette that you choose is very like, you look at the hills, you look at the blue sky, you look at the lake.
Yeah.
You look at the sky when it's sunset and the sun's just going down. It's got those purple, beautiful tones and those oranges over the hills. And it's like, there's a definite Okanagan
and there's
theme to it almost. And it's just color palette choice.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing to me.
Well, I mean, you know, that saying, you are what you live with. Like, you know, I think you probably unintentionally take in inspiration from things around you. Mm-hmm. And then, then it ends up on the canvas.
It's incredible. I would love to see, like, this style of artwork I feel is definitely more catered to like high-end restaurants and things like that. Like there's always like, they always want that elegant, beautiful artwork. So I feel like restaurants in the Okanagan, get at it.
That's
just
right.
Like incredible artwork.
Call me.
Yeah, because like there's the
I
thing
just need
is
a bigger space. So
right, and like that's the thing. Like, what would you be able to do if you had a proper studio where you could have?
Oh God, the sky's
8-foot
limit.
canvases. Yeah.
Right.
There's like,
you know, I could be redecorating furniture and
I would love to see like what you could do with almost big sheets of resin that you have the pores in the center of. So like, I wonder if there's a way to do a pour and then cover it fully as like a piece that hangs in a gallery, like a wall, not on the wall, but like separately from the roof. So you can see through it.
So you can see through it.
And you can see the elements on that.
It would be almost like stained glass, but you could see through that.
But with resin and paint. And it's like, if you had a space.
Like if this was clear
but at a big
and hung
scale.
on the wall.
Yeah, but at a big scale.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, how you'd have to do it laying down, build it, and then it would stand up.
Yeah, so you would have to be able to build, some sort of form with like a clear poly or plastic on the bottom that you could peel off the back of your it's all doable.
Right, and that's like, it's like the sky's the limit.
Space,
mm-hmm.
the creativity, coming up with the idea, all of that. Yeah, sky's the limit.
Especially because we didn't even touch on the resin, and the resin aspect is like, it's almost limitless. As long as you build it, it's case that it's gonna dry in and set, then it's gonna stay in that.
It'll stay in this forever. So I mean, like,
frame.
And I mean, this is a serving piece, so you wouldn't want to cut on this, but you could put, whatever you wanted to serve, on this guy, and it's the resin that I buy. They say it's food safe, so I don't buy super toxic resins because you are putting food on this. But that's why, I also like the charcuterie boards with the ocean, like.
Yes, like I love this. That to me is absolutely mind-blowing.
So, you can have your food on the bamboo part and then, just.
Like I don't know how you manage to capture waves so easily.
I have a practice board in the closet. I went through a few of these.
Yeah, like when I saw those online, I was like, those are absolutely stunning.
But yeah, thank you.
Like it's just ocean. That's all I picture is just ocean crashing against
and I mean, I was
island.
born on Salt Spring. I'm a coastal girl from, at heart. But
Salt Spring is beautiful.
But I love, I think that's why I love living by the lake too. Like the lake to me is like,
and blues.
It's almost not the ocean, but it's so big that it's almost like the ocean, right? Like you just think, I'm close to the ocean. But...
Yeah, no, that's kind of funny because like Salt Spring is a very art-based.
It is a very art-based.
My buddy lives there and it's stunning.
Yeah, there's
But I
a
could
lot
see
of
that's why you're more drawn to ocean
ocean-y
colors. Yeah, that
colors.
makes a lot more sense. And then coming here, adding the browns and the greens from, like, because the island itself is just green and lush.
Yeah.
My favorite places like Euclid and Cathedral Grove. Like, that's when I want an escape from life, I go to Cathedral Grove.
I was just there, like, with my mom and my sister, I think in March. It's beautiful.
It's mind-blowing how beautiful the island is. So
did you hug the big tree?
Yes, I have.
I know.
Tons of photos of it.
Yeah.
And like the island, coming from the island, everyone I know from the island has this very distinct energy. They're calm, they're laid back. Like my buddy says, they're on island time. And it is very true. When you're stuck surrounded by so much beauty and you're not connected to the mainland, you kind of have this like freedom that's there.
Yeah.
It scares me when I'm there, but that's just because like I'm used to being like the big mountains always around me, so I know I'm not going to get like crushed by water.
Right.
But then like the Malahat, you go through that and you see how stunning that area is. And then like, the Cathedral Grove there's an energy there when you're hugging those trees that's like,
I know.
Unless you go there and do it, you don't understand it. Yeah.
I know. If you've never been there, you should go if anyone's never been there.
Do you do like farmers markets and stuff?
So I haven't done a farmer's market, but we did 3 like Christmas markets. So I did the one at the cannery. That was 2 days. Just to, and like I said, like, if you paint it, they will come. I don't know. But the markets are more for funding my creative outlets, but I enjoy making the stuff. So it was fun. Like, I've got all my soaps up there and stuff. So I did soaps and my resin, and I took a couple art pieces. The art's a tricky one. You really have to find the right buyer for, the little pieces. But, the resin boards sold well. And Julian, with his paralysis, he makes a muscle balm and a salve.
Okay.
So he does that. So we took those as well. And so, that's sort of like his thing.
I love that you guys became a power couple.
A market power couple.
Just like creative power couple. And I think that's like super inspiring. So he makes these salves and balms. Mm-hmm. That's cool that he's also taking a creative outlet to be able to create something that helps.
Yeah. So his shoulders were from rolling constantly. Or he would get like lower back and muscle spasms. So yes, they have some natural healing properties in them that he's kind of figured out, and it works for him. And I'm like, you're coming with me if you want me to sell these things.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like it's.
So yeah.
And what better way to do it than to like physically both be there and be able to tell the story if need be.
Yeah.
About the artwork and what led you guys to creating this thing together.
Yeah.
Realistically, and that's what sells the story. I think that's where artists, like painters, have the hardest time selling their art.
Right.
It's because there's that lack of connection to the artist. It's like you see it, but you don't know who did it.
Right.
As we're like musicians, like there's this weird thing we have where a musician we glorify and we want to know everything about them, and it's getting to know the artist. I think is like the hardest thing as an art lover. Is to try to find who the artist is and then get to know them. So like having those opportunities of being in public and chit-chatting with the people, and they're like, oh, I really like this. And you're like, this is inspired by that. Like they go and tell 5 people who then come to see you. Yeah. And that's kind of where it's like the art walks and like the...
I did an Oliver... Oliver had an art show down and I submitted a piece and I went down there, and it was great to like meet other people and walk around and talk to other artists and how did you do that, and how did, like, again, out of my sort of like, I'm a chatty person, but I was like, oh, an art show, like my art's really, I felt it was worthy at the time, but maybe not up to snuff, right? But I was like, let's just do it, let's see what happens. So yeah, step out of the
worst case that anybody can ever say is no.
Exactly.
That's kind of what my whole life has been based off, is like,
if you don't ask or you don't do it, you don't. Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited about getting to show this.
Yeah, to your family. And
getting to like the process of watching it back.
Right.
When I'm doing the editing, because it's so quick. Like it's hard to like when you're doing it. It's very like, oh, paint's dripping. Like you got to move, got to move. So it is very like it is soothing, but at the same time, it's like you have to be on it.
Yes, I mean you tilt one wrong way and all your paint falls off the side, and you're like, oh. So then you're scraping it up and trying to get a corner covered or whatever, and it will change the effect. But it's all I love it. It's fun to do. It's a learning process. It gets those creative juices flowing. And, I've met so many nice people that have appreciated it. And I'm like, that's cool. You appreciate what I do. Like, whether it be a gift or,
I can resonate with that feeling the moment I see one person streaming my song. I'm like, oh, I get all excited.
Yeah.
So like it is, I understand that when you put so much time into not just like the craft that you've learned,
yeah,
but the emotional basis that goes behind why you learned it.
Yeah.
And for people to take like 2 seconds to look at it and walk away is very like discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Or like when you're like, show me your song, you put it on and 2 seconds later they start talking to somebody. It's kind of like, why'd you ask to hear the song?
Right.
Right. So it's like when people like, I think people have a hard time appreciating artwork because they don't understand it. It is very like, oh, it's there, it's in the background, kind of like music.
Yeah.
And I think that was like that's my main reason with the show is to try like show the absolute diversity and beauty that hides in the Okanagan and these little like cubbies that nobody knows about, because we have incredible artists that are world famous and in every media. And like one of the most influential people out of Canada is from Penticton, Shane Koizan, and we have so many creative, unique people in the Okanagan that I think we need to broadcast as being less of a wine region and more of the art capital of BC. Because we really are. No one cares about wine anymore.
Been there, drank that.
Yeah, and like you can only drink so much wine and so many beers before you get bored of it. But the art you can never get bored of. And I think that's why I really appreciate what Paul does, where he pulls in like the youth's artwork. Yeah. At the gallery.
It was amazing to see how many talented young people, from grades like 8 to 12,
And then as soon as they graduate, what do they do? It's like, how do they get into a career after that, right? Like,
and some people will follow their heart and they're creative and they're going off to Emily Carr and doing art in some form, way, shape, or another. And then others are going off to medical school or, whatever, right? And, maybe, not that I went to medical school, but, maybe like me, it sits on the back burner until something fires it up again. So. Yeah. Yeah.
No, my friend Anjane was a huge eye-opener for me, because she went from doing canvases to doing murals on buildings.
Oh, wow.
And it just took her, like she did the old Tickleberries mural.
Oh, okay.
So she's like, I charged them like $2,000 to do this huge thing. And she's like, I undercharged. Yeah. But she's like getting to like finally put myself in that place where it's like, I have to do this mural. Yeah. And I can't fail. Yeah. It was like what made her career started to go. And then she started doing all these other murals. And it's like, it just takes that initial believing in yourself. And like, if you fail, you fail. Oh, well, you learn how not to do it.
How many people have failed though and then gotten it right?
Oh,
right. Like
constantly failing.
Like, it's a learning experience. I think rejection is hard for people. Right? Like that, like, you said with your music, like, if someone doesn't like a song or just turns away, like after they've asked, like rejection is hard. People don't like being rejected, but you know what? It's okay.
It makes you stronger.
If you don't like my stuff, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. I like my stuff.
And that's what I think really matters. And
someone else might like it. So you just have to have a, positive attitude, move forward, no time for negativity. Just keep going and doing what makes you happy. So. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for doing this.
Yes,
this has been
thank you so much.
Incredible.
I mean, you're leaving with blue paint on your hands.
That's okay. I'm super excited. Quick, easy wash, but this has been absolutely incredible to talk and like to sit down and actually like.
Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Oh, no worries. I'm thankful Jen recommended you, because artists is one of the hardest things for me to find. Like I have tons of friends who are painters, but to like dive into the other communities and groups of people who I haven't met to
Well, I'm a
meet
dabbling
new people.
I'm a dabbling artist. Let's say that.
Well, I think in the short time that you've been doing it, what you create is magic.
Thank you.
And I think it's just getting it out there.
Yeah.
Realistically, is the hardest thing, and I think there's steps behind the scenes on that. So
my ideal goal would be to do a few bigger pieces and then present those to, like, say, the credit union in Summerland, because you know they do the big art. They'll do a big art wall there. You know, get into some high traffic places, but you know, baby steps.
And that's the thing, is it's just network. It's they always say in the industry, it's who you know. It's not how talented you are, and that's the most annoying thing. But it's very true.
It's kind of true. It's all about who you know.
And that's just getting out there and meeting people and doing things like this, that kind of like where you're meeting other creative minds, where like an idea sparks in your head and you're like, hey, I've got a new idea that's totally going to do something, right?
Yeah.
So I want to thank you again. This has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, let's box it up in our pizza box and
you
can get on with your day.
And we will catch you guys next time.